Well, I have some not so great news to share regarding Chiefs wide receiver Justyn Ross, as he was recently arrested in Shawnee, Kansas at his apartment, and the charges he's facing as well as the alleged details do not look good. So let's talk about it. But first, how about those? First off, I just want to say up front, I hate doing videos like this. No part of me enjoys reporting on off-the-field stuff from players, whether it's Frank Clark's Uzis, Willie Gay's incident, Chris Lammons, Britt Reed's car crash, none of it. However, it's a part of covering a professional team, and I won't shy away from things even when they are not fun to report on. And I'll just say from the jump here, what I'm about to discuss about Justyn Ross is all alleged until the legal process plays out and he's either proven guilty, innocent, or whatever ends up being decided in the court of law. But with that being said, let's get into it. Wide receiver Justyn Ross was indeed arrested on Monday afternoon in Shawnee, Kansas at his apartment and was initially documented to be facing a felony charge of criminal damage of more than $25,000, which was definitely not good. The other not so good part, by far the worst part, if we're going to be honest here, was the note at the bottom of the report that had 2 letters down in the section for details, 2 letters you never want to see together, with those being DV, which I would assume most likely stands for domestic violence. However, the booking log from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office earlier this morning had the charge description updated as criminal damage greater than $1,000 and less than $25,000, down from the initial greater than $25,000, although some are reporting that the damage is actually under $1,000 in criminal damage. And if the criminal damage is indeed under $1,000, the charge, I believe, is actually a misdemeanor rather than a felony, which would in theory result in a punishment that is less severe depending on how the legal process plays out. And before I get into more details of what actually happened, we'll get there. Here's the charges he's facing and what they mean. He's currently looking at 2 charges from what's being reported: domestic battery with no priors and criminal damage under $1,000. The definition of domestic battery is defined in Kansas as 1, knowingly or recklessly causing bodily harm to a person with whom the offender is involved or has been involved in a dating relationship, or 2, knowingly causing physical contact with the person with whom the offender is involved or has been involved in a dating relationship when done in a rude, insulting, or angry manner. Criminal damage is defined as knowingly damaging, destroying, defacing, or substantially impairing the use of any property in which another has an interest without the consent of such other person. With all that being said, here's what allegedly happened and is reportedly going on. Mike Frizzell of the Shawnee Mission Post reported that there was a 911 call made on Monday around 2:45 p.m. from Justyn Ross's girlfriend, or at least that's who she identified herself as on the call, saying that Justyn had, quote, torn up the house and broke her cell phone. However, Jesse Newell of the KC Star reported even more than that, saying the call was made from a neighbor's residence because her phone was broken, and went on to detail that the alleged victim told police that on top of tearing up the place, Ross was dragging her through the house, with the police report noting that she suffered minor injuries. Jesse goes on to say that the property damage was more than just her phone as well. There was reportedly also damage done to a laptop, a computer monitor, gold bracelet, and car key. And as a result of this 911 call, 3 police cars then showed up very quickly, and Justyn was arrested at his apartment in Shawnee roughly 10 minutes after that call was made, and he was booked into the Sheriff's Office Central Booking Facility around 4:30 p.m., where I believe he has remained until his court appearance that was scheduled for today at 2:30 p.m., and I'm currently awaiting the results from that. But I also want to know a couple more things before we do get into this court appearance and the results of it, which will probably not be too much, but I do want to wait for the court hearing to play out before releasing this video. But here's a couple things worth noting. Per the police report, it looks like no drugs or alcohol were involved, for what that's worth. And then it was reported that the Chiefs are aware of the situation, but have no comment on it at the moment. And honestly, what the hell are they really going to say here at this point in time? There's not much for them to say. All right, well, Justyn Ross did indeed appear in court this afternoon, and there's not much to report on. Just a couple small things. Sam McDowell of the KC Star reported that Justyn Ross appeared via Zoom in court this afternoon, and he's scheduled to be released today on $2,500 bond. His next court appearance will be December 4th. And I was like, well, what happened? Harold Kuntz thankfully came in clutch. He said that Ross pleads not guilty, and then basically said everything else that Sam McDowell said. And so there you have it. We may very well hear very little from now until the next court appearance on December 4th. On top of that, this article from KSHB did indeed report that Ross bonded out. His attorney requested a family member to be at his home while his ex-girlfriend gathers her belongings, and he's not allowed to go back into the residence until 7 p.m. Tuesday evening. And Jesse Newell of the KC Star reported Justyn Ross just left the Johnson County Jail around 4:10 p.m. on bond, and when asked about the charges against him, he said no comment. And so here we are. Regardless of how the legal process plays out, the NFL is going to be doing their own investigation and render discipline they find fit if they believe a player, Justyn Ross, violated the NFL's personal conduct policy. Some examples of this are Ezekiel Elliott, who was never officially criminally charged with anything back in 2016, but the league still found him guilty of being physically violent and suspended him for 6 games. Willie Gay pleaded not guilty to the misdemeanor property charge that stemmed from his 2022 incident, but was still suspended for 4 games by the NFL. The Chiefs, however, stood by Willie through this time, most likely because, my best guess, there was no reported physical harm done, and he's still here. They also stood by Tyreek through his situation involving his son, and remember, Tyreek was found not guilty of any charges, and the league did not suspend him after they concluded their own 4-month investigation. Then there's defensive end Charles Omenihu, who recently went through his own court case earlier this year and just returned from a 6-game suspension, even though he reached an agreement with prosecutors in which the battery counts were dismissed after he pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor count of illegally destroying a wireless communication device. So again, even if Ross in this situation is found not guilty in the court of law, the NFL could still discipline him, though that could be some time from now, maybe even next season. And I guess the ultimate question is, will the Chiefs stick by Justyn Ross during this time or move on once they themselves find out more? I would assume the most likely scenario is they let the legal process play out first, then make a decision. But when it comes to DV cases, it's a tough place for any team to be in, and if they are led to believe that Ross may have actually did what has been accused, I would assume they move on from him and could even do it prior to everything playing out in the court system. But we're obviously going to have to wait and see. I mean, they moved on from Kareem Hunt for less, but that was a bit of a different ordeal with him lying to the organization, or at least withholding details from them, and then video footage came out, and that was all she wrote. Whatever happens here in this situation with Ross, I just hope the truth is found, whether it's exactly what's been alleged, somewhere in between, or Ross is innocent, and punishment is brought down accordingly. Of course, I am never, ever an advocate of a man putting their hands on a woman. I think it's freaking disgusting and inexcusable behavior, if I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. But I would hope that someone with as much promise as Justyn Ross, who's been through all he has with the surgeries, the health issues, barely making it to the NFL by the skin of his teeth, someone who says he respects his mom and late grandma, wouldn't stoop to the ridiculously low level of dragging a lady around his house, i.e. putting his hands on somebody. But if he did, good riddance and so long. But I am definitely going to reserve judgment and wait for this legal process to play out. It's a bit of a bummer. You never want to hear that from a player, especially as a Chiefs fan. You're like, dude, what are you guys doing, man? You're professional athletes. You have all the money you need. You know, Justyn Ross signed a multi-million-dollar deal, was pretty much set for life. And then to throw it all the way, allegedly, potentially throw it all away, it's just super disappointing, man, and I would expect more. But let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. And remember, innocent until proven guilty, and he did indeed plead not guilty, so we got to see how the legal process plays out. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?